I exclude people, I'm delighted to do so.
This is just a snippet of the choice words that caused the internet to band together to destroy a $5 billion brand.
Abercrombie and Fitch's sales are plummeting.
More Abercrombie and Fitch stores are going away.
50 additional stores to close.
Investors are no doubt concerned.
If you were an Abercrombie fan or overweight in 2013, you may remember the moment their CEO said he did not want fat people wearing his clothes. But what you probably haven't heard is the insane backstory. Actually, you may have heard it because Netflix just did a documentary on it, but I already had the script written, and to be honest, I thought they butchered it. It was extremely boring. Yet the real story it's crazy. An eccentric CEO obsessed with creating a sex appeal-fueled cult of all-American youth, allegations of bizarre requests, discrimination and racism, and ultimately the rare satisfaction you can only get from sweet, sweet karmic justice being served. But before we get into it, a message from our sponsor. This video is sponsored by Fabulous. Fabulous is the #1 self-care app to help you build better habits and achieve your goals. The app is extremely cute and well designed, but don't let the cuteness fool you. Fabulous is based on behavioral science, and the programs are completely backed by science. There are 2 approaches you can choose from. First, you can build your routines yourself from more than 100 recommended habits. Customize your routines and use Fabulous behavioral science principles to track your progress and use timely reminders to keep you on track. Or you can use one of their dedicated programs called Journeys. This will guide you on your personal adventure each day, building your routines over several weeks. By progressing slowly, it really helps build your successes and help you achieve your new habits and goals more easily. Recently, I've been extremely busy, so I need all the help I can get ensuring I get to bed on time so I can be ready for the next day. I just built my custom evening routine, and Fabulous reminds me when it's time for my scheduled time to disconnect and get ready for bed. Personally, I really love the look and feel of Fabulous. It's so cute, and I enjoy all the little animations waiting for me each day. Really makes you want to open the app and achieve your targets just to see what happens next and to progress up the mountains, as they call them. With Fabulous Premium, you can build and improve an unlimited number of habits in your routines and take part in all the programs and exercises. Start building your ideal daily routine. The first 100 people who click on the link will get 25% off a Fabulous subscription. And back to the video. Now, Abercrombie was always somewhat cool. It's been around since the early 1900s, and apparently Amelia Earhart wore an Abercrombie jacket when she flew over the Atlantic. And you know, that's pretty cool. But it really took off in the late 90s. When the newly appointed CEO Mike Jeffries transformed Abercrombie from just a store to a brand. Through obsessively cultivating an image, a preppy, aspirational fantasy that heavily leaned on the age-old tactic of sex sells. Heavily leaned on it, which was a little bit fucked up because this was primarily a brand for high school kids. Also, as a little side note, Mike Jeffries was hired by Leslie Wexner. If you haven't heard of him, he's the mogul responsible for making Victoria's Secret a household name and also has major ties to Jeffrey Epstein. I had to say it. And actually, there were a lot of similarities between what these two were trying to create. Inspired in part by Dawson's Creek, Abercrombie and Fitch wanted to define the all-American look, creating clothing which felt exclusively for effortlessly beautiful young people.
You can't sit with us!
The store itself was meant to resemble a beachy nightclub. The lights were kept dark, the music very loud, and the employees were tasked with spritzing the clothing with cologne every 30 minutes. Mike Jeffries was quoted as saying, "How does a store look? How does it feel? How does it smell? That's what I'm obsessed with." His biggest obsession, though, was realizing his singular vision of idealized all-American youth.
I don't even know what that means.
No one knows what it means, but it's provocative.
And yes, that's basically skinny, preppy, rich, white kids. And this whole vibe really started with the employees. Employees of Abercrombie were deemed models and subject to strict physical standards. Mike Jeffries himself apparently wrote the first ever look policy for scouting and hiring staff. And store managers would go looking at local fraternities, sororities, and college sports teams. When candidates were selected, their photos were allegedly sent directly to Mike Jeffries himself for approval. And multiple online sources stated that in-store, employees had their appearance graded between A and F, and this ranking determined their role within the store, with the most conventionally attractive kept up front, and those less so banished to the back of the store. These practices made Abercrombie a household name, and Mike Jeffries stinking rich. His payout as CEO one year was estimated at $45 million, and Abercrombie was growing like crazy. In a way, it's sort of like evil genius. If you're hiring people under the pretense that they're models for your company, okay, fine, you can have that they look a certain way. But once someone is hired, organizing them by attractiveness is just cruel and bizarre business practice. And a major clue that this thing was probably a little bit more than just a business to Mike Jeffries. This whole thing could be read as someone's weird fantasy come to life as a business. Coworkers said of Jeffries, he was always creating the movie, the lifestyle story he wanted to project. And to make a movie, you need a set. Abercrombie built themselves a $131 million compound in the middle of the Ohio forest, which they called Campus, and which had various rooms that resembled lecture halls. Employees were young, college age, and described as painfully attractive, riding around scooters to get around the compound. And Mike Jeffries' own private residence also resembled Abercrombie stores, with dark furnishings, similar black and white photographs, and male models that helped out around the house. And also a creepy 360-degree mirror room. Executives recalled Jeffries calling meetings in his hotel room at 5 a.m. with male models in Abercrombie outfits serving coffee. And he himself attempted to fit the mold of his target customer. In a quote from Salon magazine, Mike Jeffries says dude a lot. When asked why he dyes his hair blonde, he replies, "Dude, I'm not an old fart who wears his jeans up at his shoulders." Quote, he wants desperately to look like his target customer, the casually flawless college kid. And in that pursuit, he has aggressively transformed himself from a classically handsome man into a cartoonish physical specimen. Dyed hair, perfectly white teeth, golden tan, bulging biceps, wrinkle-free face, and big Angelina Jolie lips. As you can imagine, this 60-year-old man's bizarre obsession with idealized all-American youth got him into trouble on more than one occasion. In addition to being generally creepy, there were so many concerns. 1996, Abercrombie began publishing a catalog described as 20% merch, 20% talk, and 100% softcore aspirational porn. The magazine included sexy photo shoots of naked lovers, implied threesomes, and post-coital bliss, and featured interviews with porn stars such as Jenna Jameson. And again, keep in mind, this stuff is all aimed at kids under 18. It's high school kids and middle school kids buying this stuff. 2002, Abercrombie sold thongs aimed at kids under 10 years old, with sayings on the crotch such as eye candy and wink, wink. 2003 to 2004, Abercrombie had to settle a $40 million discrimination lawsuit.
Each photo costs $10, and the proceeds go to charity.
Oh, what charity is that?
It's to pay for the $40 million lawsuit against us.
Yeah, a bunch of minorities sued Abercrombie because they only hire foxy white guys. Like us.
Now, occasionally, Abercrombie did hire minorities.
So where are they?
Way back in the supply room. Yo, back room, we need more yarn-dyed waffle tees up here pronto.
This might be a parody, but that's exactly what happened, and it wouldn't be Abercrombie's last racist moment. 2005, Abercrombie sold t-shirts with such insensitive slogans as, "Who needs brains when you have these?" and "Wong Brothers Laundry Service, 2 Wongs can make it white."
Bruh.
2006, our nail in the coffin interview happens in 2006, but it won't make a splash until later on. 2009, Ram Dean, a former employee, alleged that she was bullied out of her job due to her prosthetic arm. 2010, 2 employees were fired for asking to wear their hijabs on the job. They also won their lawsuits. 2010 was a big year for Abercrombie as they also made it into the Sweatshop Hall of Fame. 2012, Abercrombie's corporate pilot alleged he was fired for his age and replaced with a younger man. He sued and leaked the bizarre rules required of him, among them a no pants rule, declaring he must fly the plane in boxer briefs. I feel like we're starting to get the vibe that maybe this is a little bit more than brand building to Mike Jeffries. And maybe, just maybe, somebody should go and check that guy's basement. 2013, the nail in the coffin. When Business Insider reported that Abercrombie's sizing went up to a double XL for men, but only a large size 10 for women. Teen retailer Abercrombie and Fitch doesn't stock XL or XXL sizes in women's clothing because they don't want overweight women wearing their brand. They want the cool kids, and they don't consider plus size women as being part of that group. Mike Jeffries doesn't want larger people shopping in his store. He wants thin and beautiful people. He doesn't want his core customers to see people who aren't as hot as them wearing his clothing. The article then goes on to quote Mike Jeffries in his 2006 interview. In every school, there are the cool and popular kids, and then there are the not so cool kids. Candidly, we go after the cool kids. We go after the attractive all-American kid with a great attitude and a lot of friends. A lot of people don't belong in our clothes, and they can't belong. Are we exclusionary? Absolutely. It's one level of audacity to do this whole thing. It's quite another to say it out loud. I can literally clearly remember in 2013 when this happened, and I'm sure there's many other overweight people who remember it as well. It stung. Going on record to say, we don't want your kind here, and we've defined beautiful and you're not it, is a very, very bold move.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for them.
And actually, at this exact time, a douchey comment from one of their district managers surfaced as well. Abercrombie and Fitch doesn't want to create the image that just anybody, poor people, can wear their clothing. Only people of a certain stature are able to purchase and wear the company name. Keep in mind that these are overpriced polo shirts and track pants for teenagers that are being sold here. You're not selling fucking yachts. Take it down a notch. Anyway, unsurprisingly, people don't typically take kindly to behavior like this. And the internet went wild.
The viral backlash against Abercrombie and Fitch.
Oh, Fitch, please.
Who the heck do you think you are? Because of my size, I cannot wear your clothes.
It's very insulting and degrading.
It is very insulting and degrading. I feel like I don't want to shop there at all anymore, and I don't want my kids to shop there either.
Abercrombie is a bitch!
Fuck you, dude.
Redditors created memes targeting Mike Jeffries' appearance. Multiple petitions and boycotts were launched against the company, and individuals began donating their Abercrombie and Fitch clothes to homeless people in droves.
Mike Jeffries, man, you a bitch!
Outline outrage is pretty much a fixture of day-to-day life these days, and it doesn't usually translate to real-world results. But for at least this one moment in time, it did. And a company that essentially made its money peddling high school hierarchies to kids got canceled before canceling was even a thing.
Investors are no doubt concerned.
Sales began to decline and would continue to for 11 straight quarters.
More bad news for Abercrombie and Fitch. They're really losing momentum.
Mike Jeffries is stepping down as the CEO.
Mike Jeffries apologized and even began selling plus-size clothes. But it was too late. Go check out my latest video on Amber Heard, and I will see you in the next one.